This is crazy. This is crazy.
Again, this is a song that I don't feel is mine.
This is an edit of a stream I did a couple of days ago. There's a couple things I want to bring up here. How coercive control is an abusive tactic used to manipulate others. It's psychological. This type of abuse is really easy to get away with because it's subtle and because it happens over such a long period of time. Because if someone was to try to speak up on it, they would look crazy. I already got a comment on the original live stream that I sound like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I've just been an NSYNC fan for a long time. That's the truth. It seems like there's a case that could be made that Justin was isolated by the record company for him to be used as a puppet. As an NSYNC fan, it really breaks my heart when I see other members of NSYNC downplay the significance NSYNC had. This is how history is rewritten. Fans perpetuate the abuse, basically. The reason it's important now is because of the new NSYNC song coming out. We owe it to NSYNC to point out that they deserve better. They didn't fight to get away from their puppet masters for this to be the situation they find themselves in today. I posted this reel that I'll play through for you. I'll read the caption out loud for those who hate reading. The reason I went live to talk about it was because the official NSYNC Instagram account untagged itself.
Again, this is a song that I don't feel is mine.
Why is this song so fucking high? Just screw him over.
It is not something I would have ever written from myself.
I'm being a little bit dramatic there. I don't actually sincerely believe he's trying to screw over Lance, but
again, this is a song that I don't feel is mine.
It's just come on, man. This isn't an NSYNC song.
Honestly, because we wrote it for this movie.
This is clearly not an NSYNC song. And this footage that we already looked at, this footage. This is the footage presented as them listening to the final song together for the first time.
It just turned out that they're like, no, you have to sing it.
And look at the faces that they're making, right?
And I was like,
my point was oh, I hate NSYNC sucks. They wouldn't have to bother dealing with untagging it because that would just be noise. But no, what I have to say is not just noise. There's validity to this. There's validity to this. This is crazy. This is crazy. Here's a caption. NSYNC did not wait over 20 years for this to be the reunion, a song for Sony DreamWorks trolls that sounds nothing like NSYNC. This is not the art they fought the right to create in 1999. I'm still, quote unquote, trolling for clues, guys, and maybe the bizarre behind-the-scenes footage that portrays Justin Timberlake weaponizing NSYNC's fans under the guise of kismet to coerce the group on to this song is actually his crying a river for help. It seems like he said bye 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 to having no strings attached. No, that obviously dubbed in is a love letter to our fans underscores the absurdity that Better Place would be anything other than another song he wrote for a movie and was told he had to sing it, not NSYNC's. Otherwise, how do you rationalize making it look like he's reducing NSYNC to merely a brand name suited for slapping on Child's Play as part of his Oscar campaign for the song he wrote? Or like he's exploiting society's propensity to see him as a good old boy to skirt by criticism that, intentional or not, he inflated the performance of his upcoming solo album and its respective tour via misattributed demand for NSYNC. Or like he's driving a narrative in which he's lauded for getting the band together like no one else could for over 20 years. Just like you at your 9 to 5. He did it just to carry out his job duties. Did he humbly cast one of the biggest bands in the world for a part in one of his own original songs? Basically like the way he wrote Gone for Michael Jackson, except unlike with the King of Pop, Justin this time videographed the whole thing with NSYNC, so there's no room to doubt that Southern Hospitality drove the designation of his own studio as the rendezvous point. No room to doubt that Justin himself takes full responsibility for fathering such a quote-unquote love letter. No room to doubt, therefore, that Justin never once impeded an NSYNC reunion whatsoever. And finally, no room to doubt that Lance, Joey, JC, and Chris participated entirely and only of their own volition. We owe it to NSYNC to condemn this farce. They deserve a reunion that doesn't violate the guy's integrity. I was going to explain a little bit on what I mean about the Michael Jackson. I'm referring to how he's trying to rewrite history because he most certainly did not write Gone for Michael Jackson. This story I remember in 2002.
Gone wasn't about anybody. I just said, what would I feel like if, somebody left me? How would I feel? What kind of sorrow would I be caught in? And that's what that song was about. Originally, I got the idea for Gone when, and obviously I wrote that back when me and Brittany were a couple, and she went to the hair salon and said she was going to be back in a couple hours, got there, decided to get a manicure, pedicure, and wasn't back for 5, and that's what stemmed the idea for that song. And it's kind of funny to listen to the lyrics now. Maybe I was too blind to see that she needed a change. She basically just went to the salon.
This episode with Oprah aired May 11, 2014.
From 2000 to 2001, things started to change. We had gone from arenas to stadiums. We were playing Giant Stadium, the old Giant Stadium, and it was our 5th night in a row. So you're talking about roughly 200 to 300,000 people in 5 nights, collectively. And that's when I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
If you want to take that statement literally, that means it was between June 1st, 2001 and June 5th, 2001.
I don't want to do this anymore. I really felt like it was time for me. I was 19, about to turn 20.
If you want to take that statement literally, that means it was December 2000 into January 2001.
And I felt like it was time for me to really figure out who I was as an artist, really find my own voice. Because I had done this for 6 years with 4 other guys, and and it just felt like I would wake up every morning feeling this more and more of an urge to step out on my own and try my own hand as a musician, just by myself. It was happening all around me. What are you doing? Why wouldn't you ride this out? You know, you're the biggest group in the world. Why would you walk away from this?
NSYNC did not announce the celebrity tour until January 2002.
It's one of the best / worst things that I have ever done, because it was bittersweet. It was hard to kind of say goodbye to that era.
The tour wasn't over until the end of April. So shitty. April 18, 2002. No plan for a Justin Timberlake solo album at this time. The group is going into the studio this summer to work on a new album.
Say goodbye to that era.
When did I say Justified came out? November 5th. So this was right before it released. Oh yeah, okay. Then why'd he keep doing it? I'd never knock anything NSYNC does. I like what we do as a group.
It was hard to kind of say goodbye to that era.
To say I'm not going to do another solo album would be stupid. I'm definitely going to do another one, just like we're going to do another NSYNC record.
Say goodbye to that era.
Oh, it doesn't have to be one or the other. There's no reason my solo career and NSYNC can't coexist in the same universe. NSYNC is in no danger.
Say goodbye to...
So from what you say, the hiatus is a break, not a breakup. The break we're on is a conscious move. We all wanted to do it, and we were ready to do it. Performing at stadiums every night for 50,000 fans takes a little out of you.
To that era. But I felt it changing. I felt music changing. And I felt myself changing. And the first real seed of that was this song I had written called Gone. It ended up on our third and last album. And it was the first song I kind of cut by myself and then brought it to the guys and included them. So we were having an A&R meeting for the third NSYNC album at that time.
Think about this. Why would you not bring up this story he's about to say at the time whatsoever? Why would you wait until here?
The third NSYNC album at that time. And I said, well, I have this other song, but I originally wrote it for Michael. I originally wrote that song for Michael Jackson. I just got word that it wasn't, that they had turned the song down. So we decided to cut it, but it was one of those songs where it felt a little more personal to me because I had written it for, like, the biggest artist of all time. I guess Michael did hear it and called me on the phone and said he wanted to cut the record, but he wanted it to be a duet between himself and I. And I said, well, it's already out. We've already cut this song as an NSYNC record. I'm on the phone, I'm literally punching myself in the face because I said I can't do that.
It was first performed sometime during the PopOdyssey tour. They were performing songs from Celebrity before they released the album. Celebrity came out with Gone on it, July 24th, 2001. It was first sent to a U.S. radio station on August 21st, 2001. I just Googled it. I didn't look at primary source for that. The music video, filmed in August 2001, it debuted on TRL on September 26th, 2001.
And I said, well, it's already out. Could we do like a NSYNC featuring Michael Jackson or Michael Jackson featuring NSYNC? And he was very absolute about the fact that he wanted it to be a duet between himself and I. And I think it's the first idea that I ever got about doing something on my own.
For me, it was always, when I was 10 years old, my dream was to have my own record.
I think it's the first
about this when I was a little boy.
idea that I ever
Never thought it would
got
end up this
about
way.
doing something on my own.
When did you know that you wanted to do a solo album?
Honestly, it's always been in the back of my head. It's always been in the back of my head since I was a little boy.
That's fine, and everyone who knows everything knows that. Then why is he telling Oprah in 2014 that him writing the song for Michael Jackson, it was Michael Jackson who told him to go solo, and he never thought about it until Michael Jackson told him to do that? Bullshit.
He wanted it to be a duet between himself and I. And I think it's the first
about this when I was a little boy.
idea that I ever
Never thought it would end
got
up this
about
way.
doing something on my own.
I see this here, Brian McKnight duetted with Timberlake. It came out on this album, which was released on August 28, 2001. I would imagine that his story just makes no fucking sense. I shouldn't have to explain to you why his story makes no sense. Are you trying to tell me that Michael Jackson heard Gone and called Justin Timberlake about it before Justin did this duet with Brian McKnight? Because if Justin's whole point is it was the idea of doing a duet that made me want to go solo, no. Someone's going to be like, oh, it's because it was a song he wrote. No, fuck off. This is probably going to have to be for another video, but it's also come to my attention that Timberlake said that when he joined NSYNC, he was actually trying to be an actor and was not focused on music. And I think it's worth calling that out because he had his first TV movie debut at the beginning of 2000. He filmed it in 99. So while the rest of them are I'm totally making this up, but it's like the rest of them are in the middle of the lawsuit. He's like trying to go get his big acting break. My whole point is like he's acting as if he hasn't done a single thing without NSYNC this whole time, which is just patently false. He was the first to do stuff that wasn't music. How about that? Just the whole thing is so ludicrous. Guys, I don't want to make a video showcasing every single shitty thing Timberlake's ever done that you don't know about. You know about the big things. There's so many other things. I really don't want to like bring this guy down. It's really not like what I'm about. But I can't help that all of these things are things that he's done and that I've noticed. Like, why would you wait until 2014 to make up this story about how you wrote Gone for Michael Jackson when the truth is you wrote Gone with Wade Robson? It's about Britney. We all know what we're supposed to believe happened with Wade Robson and Britney. Who cares? I don't care. I'm just letting you know the context. In 2013 when Wade Robson started coming out against Michael Jackson, quietly filed papers in Los Angeles that he was molested by Michael Jackson.
Because it was the first time I'd ever really felt the confidence to do it. And I knew that the music that I was interested in and was writing at the time was different than what we had previously done. And it felt like a real departure. I never told anybody that Michael story.
He only brought it up after Michael Jackson had already passed, so it wouldn't be there to refute it. And the person who he co-wrote the song with, Wade Robson, even if he wanted to speak out against Timberlake, he was surely advised by his lawyer not to do so since it involved Michael Jackson and he was in a lawsuit against Michael Jackson's estate. Nextly, it was during a time when Wade Robson's credibility was already in question because he had been a witness for the defense for Michael Jackson years earlier, and now he was coming out against Michael Jackson. Wade was in a vulnerable state. Even if everyone believed that he had really been hurt by Michael Jackson, had he wanted to speak out against this lie of Timberlake's, it would have undermined his own credibility. His intentions for speaking out would have been questioned. It would have looked like he was being on the offensive against Michael Jackson just because he was already a victim against Michael Jackson. Let's say I'm Justin Timberlake and I am crazy and I want to send a shitty message to a former best friend who stole my girlfriend that no one will ever notice except him. So therefore, if my best friend ever tried to like tell someone that I hurt him, no one would get it. Everyone would tell him he's crazy. If that's what you wanted to do, you would do exactly what Timberlake did. You would claim that the song you wrote with your best friend wrote it for Michael Jackson. I started work on this about a month ago, basically to figure out, what is going on with NSYNC once and for all. But instead of delaying it any further, I'm going to just put it out now as kind of a progress update. Just please know things are continually evolving. My original intention of the video was to explain coercive control using things Justin Timberlake has done as examples, mainly two things. First, how he said he wrote Gone for Michael Jackson when Wade Robson, the song's co-writer, spoke out as being abused as a child by Michael Jackson. And then second, how Timberlake has given various reasons for going solo, including Michael Jackson inspired it, and that he, quote, cared more about the music than other people in the group, unquote, etc. Right? I wanted to show what it looks like, how it rewrites history, how it destabilizes victims in inadvertently perpetuating abuse rather than breaking the cycle, how abusers evade accountability, etc. Okay, well, I actually now believe it goes a layer higher. Basically, my latest working thesis is that there's elements of retaliation involved, because keep in mind, NSYNC was under RCA, got away from RCA, is back under RCA. And so the reality seems more likely that Timberlake is a victim of the record company's coercive control, and that the examples in this video reflect the ways he has perpetuated that abuse instead of breaking the cycle. It's something to keep in mind, like he's an ideal victim for the record company because the public's perception and expectations of him are that these things are totally in his nature to begin with. So therefore, the record company carry on with status quo, unchallenged. I was falling into that trap too when I first started working on this, but I think it's like a lot deeper. I cared more about the music than some of the other people in the group. So shitty. Puts them in such an awkward situation because then obviously people are going to be like, oh, how do you feel about that? Like, did you know that? Blah, blah, blah. And then what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to be like, yeah, Timberlake's an asshole? No, they have to pretend it's fine.
Said, I felt like I cared more about the music than some of the other people in the group.
If you attack someone with something that's completely unsubstantiated, there's no way for that person to reasonably defend against it because it's too absurd to begin with. You're destabilized, right? That's what abusers do. They destabilize you. Then you find yourself, like Lance in the situation, backing yourself into a corner, saying things that are provably false, that you don't necessarily believe. He's going to try to minimize what Timberlake said for the sake of NSYNC and for the sake of NSYNC's fans, but it's fucked up because in the process he minimizes NSYNC and NSYNC's accomplishments, enabling history to be rewritten. We're all inadvertently undermining NSYNC, which is the last thing any of us want to do, and it's really fucked up.
Yeah. Is that true?
I mean, I don't think it's true. I mean, obviously we cared about the music, but I understand where he's coming from for sure, because at the height of NSYNC, it was crazy. I mean, you're getting pulled in so many directions, and you do feel like you're not in control anymore. And it felt like it was everything but the music.
Giving Timberlake an out. I already looked at the article written at the time for Celebrity, the last album they made. It was already 80% written and produced by them, and that everything had to come across our table They were determined to take control of NSYNC, and they had taken control of NSYNC. I like don't know what to tell you. Oh, Lance is lying. He's claiming, yeah, NSYNC felt like we weren't in control at the time. I would have been like, yeah, I was so surprised when Justin said that, because at the time we were writing all the songs ourselves and producing everything. I would have like reminded everybody how absurd Timberlake was to say something like that. And dude, don't be like, yeah, exactly, like the tank top and the booklet, that's not the music. No, it's all about managing your artistic integrity. I think that's what like Timberlake doesn't understand, and it's really clear based on his own solo career that that's not something he understands. You can make the worst song ever, but it'll be better than a song that has no artistic integrity. And that's what caring about the music looks like. For No Strings Attached, they didn't even work with a record label at all until like the end. I can't even address the point of how ridiculous that is. When you make these types of comments, there's no way to defend against it because they're so egregious. I can only address how ridiculous what Lance is saying is.
Not in control anymore.
You get cornered into saying things that you don't actually believe or don't mean.
It was everything but the music.
Why would you do this? Why would you go sue Lou Pearlman? They cared about the music the most because they were not letting themselves be used by puppets, and they understood, if I want to go just like sing a song in my shower, that's cool. If I want to like tape record myself singing it in a shower, that's cool. But if you want to be an artist, then there's a lot more that goes into it. There's just a lot more that goes into it. And then what else just kills me about him saying that is you have to also remember that he only has released how many albums? It's been 23 years and he's released 4.5. Point is, like, how shitty is that though? They have to cover for him, and then they have to like act like NSYNC wasn't as big of a deal as it was in the process, which is so shitty.
It was everything but the music. It was all about the spectacle.
It was all about the spectacle. Let's talk about that as well then. Because first of all, don't even get me started on this. I have a couple things to say here, but March 30th, 2000. Timberlake's mom is the only one who's in this article. It's just a little bit weird, but that's fine. She's in it a lot though. They're talking about how girls love NSYNC. There's something in here that these just quote unquote like average enough guys engaging in singing and dancing on stage or being rewarded by a million women makes other people piss at them. By thinking they're gay or challenging their masculinity, you're devaluing women and gay people. But all of this, okay? So just keep that in mind. I think it's like kind of just, what the fuck is Justin Timberlake's mom talking about when she goes, it's strange sometimes. It's a little stranger when it's the boys screaming, but you know, those kind of boys buy a lot of records. They appreciate good music. What can I say? What the fuck is she even referring to? It's a little stranger when it's the boys screaming. Those kind of boys buy a lot of records. What is she saying? What is she saying? So just keep that in mind. Justin Timberlake, his own mother, seems to think, I don't know what she's trying to say, but she's trying to say something about it's weird that little boys like NSYNC and that there are a certain type of little boys. She's othering, she's otherizing. Instead of just like, yeah, all of our fans are crazy, or, oh, you always think about all the little girls that go crazy for us. Well, there's also little boys who go crazy for us. But no, she says those kind of boys. She adds this, those kind of boys. And how come, like, yeah, we laugh at it when it's the girls who go crazy for NSYNC, but it's stranger when it's the boys. Okay, so that's his own mother. That's his own mother, who he claims is his best friend. And for some reason, she's like in this interview. I don't know why. So keep that in mind. It might be better if it wasn't such a spectacle. Maybe people would respect it more. Oh, maybe like how your mom seems to not respect those kinds of little boys. Are you just trying to get your mom's approval? Are you yourself trying to claim that you think this is too gay because you have like internalized homophobia or something? Or because your mom, who for some reason is like breathing down your neck, acts like that's a problem? When they're interviewed for Celebrity, you have Justin over here saying, oh yeah, Brittany and I, God, also this is like so sketchy. All she has is me. I'm the only one in her life she wants to talk to about stuff. If that's not like red flag stuff, I can't help you, but we're not even gonna get into that right now. We're getting into right now is he's talking about doing a duet. It would definitely be a spectacle. It would be huge. A spectacle is okay when you can objectify a woman to reinforce your own masculinity. Dude, you have like internalized...
It was all about the spectacle.
Internalized boy band hatred for the exact reasons mentioned in the article. All of it's so heartbreaking. It breaks my heart to see that when Lance is trying to rationalize Timberlake's comments about not caring about the music, his mind goes to, well, maybe it was too much of a spectacle. And there's a lot to unpack there that I'm working on for another video. On Timberlake's transgressions, again, it ties back into his whole internalized hatred of boy bands, hating, I don't even know what word to use, hating femininity, that he's so obsessed with being a man of the woods that He's obsessed with trying to be a man because he's insecure about, dude, it's just so heartbreaking too, because part of the concept for Celebrity was them pushing back against being a novelty by playing into being a novelty. The PopOdyssey tour was intentionally a spectacle. It was part of the point, and it was really well done. I love that approach in general of being so self-deprecating that you're actually poking fun back. And then it's not even fair to say that that got out of hand, because it didn't, because the Celebrity tour was intentionally reined back in. And it's fucked up to act like we're not proud of what NSYNC was and did. We should be proud of the spectacle that NSYNC put on instead of trying to minimize it. I think a lot of Timberlake's MO is to retroactively justify, see what I did there? Justify his solo career, that NSYNC's music was insignificant or wasn't art, that he had so much more vision, that he had to make such a wide departure, because in actuality, the music he went on to make wasn't that different from what he was doing with NSYNC, okay? He was less productive as a musician after NSYNC than when he was with NSYNC. He also stagnated, whereas NSYNC was increasingly experimental. And this ties back into, again, him having to loop in Michael Jackson as the catalyst for him deciding to go solo, of course. You know, that's just another way for him to try to justify his unjustified solo career.
Because it was the first time I'd ever really felt the confidence to do it. And I knew that the music that I was interested in and was writing at the time was different than what we had previously done.
Bro and I wrote Girlfriend.
That's true.
And NSYNC worked with the Neptunes.
And I knew that the music that I was interested in and was writing at the time was different than what we had previously done.
But also remember that NSYNC worked with the Neptunes.
And
That's true.
it felt like a real departure.
That was a natural progression for me.
And it felt like a real departure.
But also remember that NSYNC worked with the Neptunes.
That's true.
Bro and I wrote Girlfriend.
That's true.
And NSYNC worked with the Neptunes. So that was a natural progression for me.
And I knew that the music that I was interested in and was writing at the time was different than what we had previously done. And it felt like a real departure. I never told anybody that Michael story.
I think it'll do whatever it does. You know, that's kind of out of my hands. As far as I'm concerned, you know, I made the best possible record I can make, and I'm happy with it. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the new sound and it's the whatever you want to call it. You know, it's just totally me, and it's fun. I can.
He goes, it's totally me. 2003, he's talking about Justified. It's just totally me. He wanted to go out and do his own record because he wanted to do one that was just totally him. Then how come the entire Justified record was pretty much all the stuff you guys are hearing on Justified? That was all for Michael. All but one song, they were written for Michael. Oh no, it's totally Justin though, and like that's the reason he had to go do a solo album. He always wanted to. He just needed to really just do him, do what was in his heart. His album really reflects that. No. How come you're saying then it's all Michael stuff? It's all Michael rejects.
You know, I think the most important thing for me was to just throw everything that had been what I was leaning on out the window and just start from scratch and create something that was just completely me.
Dude, he can't even stare at the camera straight, guys. I can't. This is why people get annoyed at Justin Timberlake, because he says this type of shit.
Had been what I was leaning on out the window and just start from scratch and create something that was just completely me. And I feel like I succeeded. You know, I knew when the album was done. I remember getting the last song. Sorry, it's buffering.
He started completely from scratch, guys. No, he took...
And I was like, this is it. You know, it's done. And I felt like I really portrayed who I was, and I think that was my only mission.
Yeah, he portrayed exactly who he was, which was someone who is not an innovator. He's just sloppy seconds. Threw it all out the window, guys. Threw it all out the window. No, instead, he took an entire album of Michael Jackson reject material and claims it shows exactly who he was. It's probably the most honest thing he's ever said.
I'm going to be playing shows in August, club shows, to kind of debut.
He didn't like how they were doing like crazy giant crazy shows. He wanted to do more intimate shows, and he did do that. But then also there was some interview, I'll have to go back and find it eventually, was saying that he didn't like how the PopOdyssey tour was stadiums and he would have been happy just going back to arenas. Then how come, look at this, we can talk more about this in a second too. Dude, how come in 2013 then Suit and Tie seemed to have a slow start, and that they were worried that Timberlake wasn't even going to be able to fill arenas since it had been 6 years since. Oh, but remember guys, other people in the group didn't care as much about the music. Just remember that, guys. Just remember that. They were thrilled. They just envisioned him in an arena, but then they were thrilled to promote a stadium tour. Yeah, they upped the venue size regardless, so they upped it to stadiums. I don't want to be accused of like just holding things against him that he was doing and saying in 2002. Oh, he's grown. It's not true though. Here, you want to talk about FutureSex LoveSounds? Here's my next question then. I'm being serious. I'm really not one of those crazy JC people, because like, just if you want to know the truth, I'm obsessed with Lance Bass, and I'm still gonna marry Lance Bass. It's about Lance Bass for me. If we read the review for this, my question is, and I'm asking this literally. My question is, isn't FutureSex LoveSounds just schizophrenic redone with all of the critics' feedback incorporated into it? That's my question. Trading Justin Timberlake's Michael Jackson fixation for an obsession with Prince. I was gonna pull up the review of FutureSex LoveSounds. If Michael Jackson was the touchstone for Justified, then Prince provides a cornerstone of FutureSex LoveSounds, at least to a certain extent. Sexually charged, trying to be sexy instead of simply being sexy, sex-obsessed singers like Prince. Each of the 3 opening songs has sex in their titles. Timberlake's obsession with sex. They called him sex-obsessed on Schizophrenic. Homage to Prince. Electro-funk of Prince's early 80s. These are all the criticisms. What's frustrating is that Schizophrenic has a lot of good music on the album. Terrific pop music filled with undeniable hooks and a vibrant imaginative production. Sonically, it's easy to get sucked into it on nearly every song. He'll do something to pull you out of it, whether it's something he says or the way he says it. Justin may not have personality. Because he has no personality, there's no personality to get in the way of what he's trying to sell you. And that's why NSYNC was so good, because the two of them together were really, 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 really fucking good. Now he fuses a clear musical vision with a theatricality endemic to a showbiz kid. JC was said he was too much of a showbiz kid. I just need him and Timberlake to get back together to be in sync, because they're better together. You know that we do it better. To me, it sounds like that Timberlake basically just straight up redid JC's. Wait, am I crazy? I just feel like I have to be missing something, because wouldn't have all of the justice for JC people, how have those people not caught on to this? Wouldn't this be something that they would have ran with? He just copied JC, but because he doesn't have a personality and is only a copier, which we already established on Justified with interviews in his own words about how it really reflects his personality or whatever and who he is, when we also know that literally the whole album was Michael Jackson rejects. So he's just sloppy seconds. Timberlake can't innovate. He can take other people's ideas and then apply his own lack of personality and charm to it, which is fine. That's like a sociopath thing to do, right? Yeah, I actually kind of still do agree with this, that he takes on other people's personas who are special to convince himself that he's special, because he himself is just nothing, which is fine. It's fine. When he was in NSYNC, he did more for music because the group enabled him and challenged him to be the best version of his fucking mediocre ass self. My whole point was we're not supposed to notice that Better Place is not an NSYNC song. Extrapolate Justin Timberlake's own words, and don't you dare tell me not to extrapolate Justin Timberlake's own words. That interview was recent, 2 years ago. This is only 2 years ago that he said it. We do it better. That's why there's a blowjob shortage in this country. In fact, we don't discuss his sex life at all. I've been warned he won't talk about that subject. What the hell, dude? I can't tell if this journalist was being funny, because she doesn't seem like she's being funny, since she called him the new king of pop, and oh my god, so annoying. Timberlake has outgrown NSYNC. Even he seems to be aware of it now. Go fuck yourself. NSYNC was not taking music entirely already written for Michael Jackson and releasing it. This is what's so frustrating to me and you should be frustrated too, when I and you hear the whole reason, the whole way he quote unquote justified his solo career. We see you're so full of bullshit. Oh yeah, I was showing you the clips of how other people had a cover for his fucking bullshit.
More personal than it's been in the past.
He has made it squarely personal.
Yes, because he was speaking to the Hollywood Reporter and asked about the breakup, and he said, "Look, I was outgrowing the band and this, that, and the other." But then here's the part that really struck us. I felt like I cared more about the music than some of the other people in the group. Now that, like I said, jumped out to us, and of course we're wondering how it sits with other members of the group. And joining us right now is our pal Chris Kirkpatrick, who we just spoke to a couple days ago. Chris, didn't think we would be talking to you this soon, but didn't know that Justin was going to say something like this.
I tell you what, I hope you guys are cleaning one of those desks out back there, because I need a job with you guys.
What do you hey Chris, what do you think about what he said?
Well, a lot of things get misconstrued, and a lot.
By the way, this was in 2017 he said this. This was in 2017. He hadn't even released a goddamn album in years and years and years. I'm like, the audacity, you motherfucker. So this is Chris, who's now covering for Timberlake, because Timberlake's allowed to just say shitty things, and they'll make excuses for him and put words in his mouth to make it seem less horrible than what it was.
lot of times stuff gets pulled out of context or whatever, and I don't know the context in the interview and you know how he was, if he was tired that day or he said the wrong thing, you know, or whatever, but you know I'm not offended by it. I think that, you know, what he was intending on was that we were all in 5 different directions at that point, and you know maybe some of us thought this was going to be a little bit of a break and we were going to relax, and we were thinking about what we were doing in that break time rather than focusing on what we should have been focusing on, which was the group and the music.
So was Justin then right in saying...
Dude, that's so nice of Chris to try to just like assume Timberlake had like only good intentions in saying that it was, oh, he must have been referring to when we were on a break and only when we were on a break, because it's true. When I was on a break, I was enjoying my break, whereas when he was on a break, he wanted to keep making music.
That he cared more about music than some members?
I don't know if it was cared about music. I definitely think, you know, what he was doing, he had like a different vision, and you know obviously he had so much music in him that he wanted to make.
Yeah, Chris, you're so nice. You're not pointing out the fact that his vision was to just literally copy Michael Jackson and then to literally copy JC.
You know, it was tough for everybody to kind of keep up with him and go in the direction that he wanted to go. So he was like, you know, I'm just gonna...
Yeah, because they didn't want to just be a Michael Jackson carbon copy. Like I was saying, they were writing and producing the songs 80% themselves. They weren't taking an album that had already been made for Michael Jackson and rejected.
To go and do my own thing for a little while. Then I don't think any of us thought, like, you know, I thought we all thought it was like a hiatus, like we were all taking a break, and
that's what it was at the time, until Timberlake, when they came back to start working on the next album, Timberlake was like, JK.
You know, we'd all get to go do, you know, enjoy, you know, the fruits of our labor for a little while and then end up, you know, doing another tour or whatever, you know, but, you know, sure enough, Justin got huge, and, you know, JC put out a record too, so everybody was just kind of doing their own thing, and, you know, it just so happened that here we are, 13, 14 years later, talking about the good old days.
But Chris, is what Justin is saying, that was he, and I'm trying to read into what he said here, is he saying that you yourself...
Dude, the whole world has been like manipulated by this guy, and we all know it. His bandmates, his brothers, keep rising to his defense, and we're like, guys, we're not asking you to like shit on Justin Timberlake with us, but we're like, just want you to know, like, we're here for you if you do need a vent about him. Like, we see the truth. You know, if you have these secret feelings that he's being a dick to you, you know, we know he's gonna deny it like he does, because we've been seeing him do this for like 15 years just like you, but like we're willing to like have your guys' backs. Like, we're gonna keep bringing you on here and be like, are you sure you're okay with this? Like, we're okay if you're not okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think it's like a let's all hate Timberlake thing. It's a like, we want better for everybody, but we're having, it's difficult. It's a difficult situation to navigate. How do you go about it in the right way?
For some other people in the group wanted to do things other than music, and he was solely focused on music, while maybe other people wanted to get into acting.
Which is funny again too, because think about it, and it was during this time he was not fucking even making music.
Yeah, I think that's partially it, but I think, you know, mostly it was, we were working so hard in music that he had a direction that he wanted to continue, and whether or not the 5 of us would all agree on that or not, like I said, you know, it was tough. People were, if you could.
So again, like Lance was saying, like, we all cared a lot. So they're both saying, like, no, he must not have really been saying we didn't care, because we clearly fucking cared. We cared a shit ton. We were working our asses off. Justin Timberlake has no issue going into interviews saying things that shit on other people and put them in awkward situations, like Chris in his car. So they're trying to like be so like gracious and delicate about it, because the NSYNC fans don't want to sit here and be like, wow, Justin Timberlake hates all of them. Like, that's so depressing. Like, we thought they were brothers. Timberlake knows that Chris and Lance and whoever else are going to be asked about it and are going to have to say something, because Timberlake knows that the other guys care for the NSYNC fans. He knows that the other guys are going to hold up that facade, and they're not the type to just harm other people. They're not going to just call him out on all his bullshit like I am.
Couldn't get the collective. The best thing to do was grab an individual and kind of jump on them and say, hey, let's take this somewhere. Let's do something with this giant popularity we have and run with it. And, you know,
I think Chris is kind of hitting on the fact that the label decided to try to use Timberlake as a puppet.
And, you know, there's like the divide and conquer, and it worked.
It worked. They isolated Timberlake.
You know, so, I got to say, though, you're saying on the one hand, this was almost like creative differences, that Justin wanted to take it in a different direction. That is different than saying, we just didn't give a crap about music. And I guess, you know, is it kind of like if it were football, would it be unnecessary roughness?
I think if it were kind of like football, I think you'd have a couple teams wanting to run a couple different offenses or different defenses with the same outcome. And, you know, I think we all just really had our own intentions on what we saw the group being and what we saw the group doing. And even with what Justin said, it's not, it was misunderstood a bit, because he didn't think that there was no...
Keep in mind, Chris at the beginning is like, yeah, I don't know the context he said it in, but now he's already saying like, oh, it was definitely misunderstood.
No potential, and nobody was trying. You know, I know that he really thought where he was going creatively was he had to break off for a little while and try his own thing.
So no 20th reunion show?
No, I just know he won't talk to me anymore.
Yeah. I gotta say, Chris, you're more offended. You're more offended than Chris. No, it's not me. It's I've heard rumblings. I've heard rumblings.
Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, everyone sees this. So then, for good reason. This is so shitty. They're having trouble articulating why this is so offensive, but I'm gonna articulate it right now. They want to tell Chris, if you don't want to be mad at him and you want to, like, not speak ill of him, like, we respect that you're a good person, but we also want you to know, like, we're here for you, because it's, like, undeniable that that was really shitty of him to say, and it's commendable of you to project so much good intentions onto him. It's amazing that you are the one here now trying to assure everybody, oh, Justin for sure knew how hard we worked and how much everything meant to us. You're such a good person, Chris, to do that. But the reason we're talking to you and the reason we're, like, put off is we're just worried about how that might be being taken advantage of. And if you don't feel that way, like, that's fine. But we just want you to know that if you ever do end up feeling that way, it's valid and we're here for you. I think that's what's going on here.
I gotta say, Chris, you're more offended. You're more offended than Chris. No, it's not me. It's I've heard rumblings elsewhere, Chris. I mean, you're being extremely gracious. But what I've kind of been hearing by people connected with the group is that there was this feeling that Justin did feel this way, that he was, that cut above, or that you guys weren't really committed, and that he said it enough in private for a long enough time that he started believing it.
Yeah, I don't think it was, really that there was the commitment issue. I really feel like by these people pulling people in different ways.
They're all dancing around it. These people pulling people in different ways. But also, I kind of think Justin was, like, isolated by the record company to be used as a puppet all over again, because they knew, oh shit, like, NSYNC, their whole fucking thing is to not be used as puppets. The only reason they're even with Jive is because they sued and broke away from their last label and manager. It's always just easier to have someone you can, like, beat into submission, like Timberlake. And I would understand that's a delicate situation too, because if Chris literally wants to come out and be like, guys, Timberlake was susceptible to being used by the record company, and that's why we all feel bad for him and give him some grace, because it's just all really, like, depressing. If Chris was to come out and say that, but Justin isn't ready to, like, deal with it, it's just going to cause more tension than there needs to be. Then, like, that's a shitty thing of Chris to do. You can't help someone until they're ready to be helped, until they want help. So why even go there? There's no point in him going there and bringing it up. I have no fucking stake in their relationship, so I can come on here and say whatever the fuck I want.
Is that there was this feeling that Justin did feel this way, that he was, that cut above, or that you guys weren't really committed, and that he said it enough in private for a long enough time that he started believing it.
Dude, what's nice though too about how that guy phrased that implies Justin was wrong in that belief. He's trying to, like, give NSYNC credit back again. He's like, Justin might have thought that he was better than everyone and then started believing it, meaning, like, he wasn't. There's plenty of perfectly acceptable reasons that people aren't as candid as I am speaking about this. What's Chris supposed to do if the guy comes straight out and is like, everyone in the whole fucking world, Chris, sees that Timberlake thought he was better than you guys, but everyone in the whole fucking world knows he's rewriting history and that's just not how that worked. How's Chris supposed to reply to that? Like, oh wow, like, thank you? Like, no. It puts Chris in a horrible situation, which this guy is not trying to do at all. They're trying to be here to be like, Chris, we're here for you. We're here for you. So they're not trying to put him in a horrible situation. So that's why he's, like, wording it like that. But, like, you should be aware, like, clearly that guy is implying that if Timberlake believed that, that would be untrue.
They're more concerned with doing this other project than they are doing the group. And, we were touring nonstop, and, maybe...
I honestly don't even know what Chris is referring to there. They're more concerned with this other project than... If he's trying to say that Jive was concerned, that Lance was going to go to space... Or if he's saying that that Jive was more concerned with doing Justin's solo album than doing the group stuff. It's kind of vague. He might have been conflating both thoughts as he was, like, speaking.
Maybe some people just said, hey, let's take a break. When we started taking a break, I was the worst. I went out and was partying and doing things that, now, of course, I regret, but...
Chris is being so fucking nice again. They did take a break. They were very clear in NSYNC, after this, we're taking the first break we've ever taken. They were, and it was a well-earned break. They had just finished 2 back-to-back tours, like Chris is about to say. They literally were on a break, which is, like, a normal-ass thing to do, to get a little vacation. and then they were going to go work on their next album, except then they never worked on their next album.
You know, it was just a release. Like, it seemed like finally we've been going to school all this time, and now we get a summer vacation, and everybody just had a different idea of what they were going to do on vacation, and whether that got perceived the wrong way or not. You know, it wasn't any one person that definitely stood out and said, you know, it's me, guys. It's my fault. I don't believe in what's happening here.
Chris, I was going to ask you that. Justin didn't sync.
He's being so nice and still claiming that Justin would have been referring to how they used their vacation time, their first ever vacation time. It makes me so sad. I hope Chris doesn't actually believe, like, oh, it's because I partied too much when I was on my vacation that NSYNC never did another record. Like, I hope he doesn't really believe that, you know? Like, that's so fucked up. That's so fucked up. That's like...
Single out anyone, didn't name anyone, but he did say he cared more about the music than some other people in the group.
Right.
Do you think that there is one person he had in mind and he just didn't say it?
I mean, I don't think so. You know, I can't get in his head and...
Oh, so now Chris can't get in his head, even though before he's saying, I know what he meant was...
say that any one person that I would think it would be. You know, like I said, I just know that we all were on the same page for about 10 years, and then suddenly... you know, we just all kind of drifted apart a little bit. But, you know, we are 5 brothers, and we talk to each other. We have a group text that we're talking to each other all the time, like with the Super Bowl commercial, with everything that comes down. You know, we all kind of stay in touch with each other and stay on top of things.
And,
so,
and Justin's part of that? All right.
Yeah, Justin's part of that, of course.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, cool.
Hey, yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for
And they're like not going to call him out on it, because again, they're not trying to like shame anybody.
the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, fellas. Don't forget to clear my desk out.
Okay, thanks again, Chris.
I don't want Justin to be an abusive person. Like, that's so... I hate that, dude. I hate that. Why? That's not what I want. No one wants that to be true. Part of the reason I'm even like bothering looking into any of this shit is because I'm trying to find a way for that to be not fucking true. But it's really depressing. I can't really find a way to make it not true. The best I can do is that he's being abused by the record label, but that still kind of lends credence to the fact that he's being an abuser himself. Because isn't that like a whole thing? Like, if you don't break the cycle, then you go on to be an abuser, and like that's kind of what he's doing. So my latest semi-facetious hypothesis that I'm rolling with is like, okay, maybe Justin is being abusive in such an egregious way in hopes that the NSYNC fans will finally put an end to all of it. He's using NSYNC fans now for his own gain, whereas before, I mean, he was kind of always doing that, but it was less egregious because that's what they do. People who get away with this type of abuse keep pushing the line and pushing the line and pushing the line and see how much crazier, how much more egregious can it get. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that NSYNC has all these fans to start my own career, which Chris even kind of said. He was like, yeah, he's like, maybe they were like, we should do something with all this popularity. Kind of saying maybe the label or someone advising Timberlake was like, you should try to capitalize off of how big NSYNC is. So his whole career was based on the fact that he had NSYNC fans. But anyway, now it's more egregious than ever because he made that stupid little documentary thing. So badly want Justin Timberlake to not be an abusive person that like I don't even want to like acknowledge these like mounting pieces of evidence I have of every single fucking incident. And I know that makes me look like I'm a crazy person. I'm not. I've just been an NSYNC fan for a long time, and these were things that like affected me at the time. And like I'm not alone. And I tell this guy too, like I'm giving the benefit of the doubt here to NSYNC fans instead of to Justin, but I'm sure that they recognize the same issues with Justin that I'm recognizing. When people just keep it moving and don't really like take the time and reflect on all of this and all this shit, and it's shit that's like very like subtle and over time and just chipping away constantly, then that's how these bad actors flourish and engage in increasingly egregious behaviors like mocking for how powerless you are, such as naming a song Better Place makes it all the more malicious and dark and sinister that he's going to coerce the guys to be on, and he's filming them. How do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? And then he's making fun of how powerless they are by having a camera even on them, being like, see, ha ha ha, because that's how much no one's even going to notice, and it's so funny. It's so sick. This type of abuse, it's very easy to get away with, where it's subtle and insidious, so their victims never achieve justice. The people who undermine everyone else acting in good faith to make it a better place. And like I'm passionate about that because there's actual real big problems in this world because they're complex and because the duration is over such a long time. It's easy to not have the context necessary to see the full issue. It's not a waste of my time to be trying to share these issues with the NSYNC reunion and Justin Timberlake because it's like practice for when I need to share things that are legitimately important.
Oh, dude, this song. What a journey for you to be on this for this song.
This song trips me out. It is not something I would have ever written for myself. Again, this is a song that I don't feel is mine. Honestly, like because we wrote it for this movie, it just turned out that they're like, no, you have to sing it. And I was like, okay.